Hi, everybody. Welcome to Discover College Soccer. Today, I'm lucky enough to be joined by Coach Sean Regan from West Liberty in West Virginia. Welcome, Coach.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for being here. I grew up not too far from you all in Ohio, but and had some friends coaching back in that conference back in the day. So
Yeah.
good to talk to some West Virginia folk. But let's talk about recruiting. We're talking here in March. You know, it's the showcase season.
Yeah.
So what are you guys all wrapped up with your 23s and or are you still looking at 23s? Kind of what's your timeline when you're
Yeah.
recruiting?
We're probably about 75% full for next year. We're still looking at maybe bringing in maybe one or two other players at this moment, but at this time frame, it's really just talking to about the 10 or 11 guys that are between us and one other two other schools at this moment in time. I think pretty much about this time everybody's kind of made their decision or has already got their top three list going on. So showcase season is in full force, and really right now we're pretty much solely focused on the juniors right now.
Okay. Well, when you're looking at players, are there tournaments that are kind of, must hit on your list where you're going to see players that you try to get to each year?
Sure, yeah. I mean, we're lucky that being situated in the East Coast that we are, we're very close to a lot of the major tournaments. In the fall, the Bethesda is a big one that we'll go to. We'll go to the Jefferson Cup in the springtime. The Blue Chip out in Cincinnati are good tournaments. And then we'll we'll go pretty far around the Christmas time period. We'll go down to the IMG Cup. We'll go down to the ECNL Showcase in Florida. All the fun ones in the warm weather when it's snowing up here. But we try to hit about anywhere between 5 to 6 major college showcase tournaments a year, and then couple that with a lot of the international showcases that we can get video links for, and we'll try our best to watch those over the Christmas period as well.
Okay. Well, in terms of uh, other recruiting methods, do you do ID camps? Do you and your staff work other people's camps? How do camps fit in?
Yeah, so we don't really do too many ID camps here because we're lucky at the Division 2 level. We're allowed to bring students on to train with our team. So I think it's giving maybe the student a little bit of a falseness in terms of charging them money when we can bring them on for free. So I think that's a good way of putting forward to our recruits that we want you. So you have the ability to come as an official visit and check out the university and actually train with the guys. In terms of going to other ID camps around the area, we'll go to like two or three in the springtime. Just kind of observe what there are with depending. We're lucky that we have a lot of big Division 1 universities within the Pittsburgh area and Columbus area that are 1 to 2 hours away, so highly accessible.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. Well, whether it's uh at your a tryout at the university or
Mhm.
camp or tournament, what is it that you're looking for in players that makes a player, stand out to you that you want to recruit them?
Sure. Basically simplicity is the biggest thing that we really look for. Making sure that a guy is very proficient in his first touch, that can ping a ball 5, 10, 15, 20 yards and with accuracy and doing it 9 out of 10 times. That impresses me far often than guys trying to do 6 or 7 step overs and take people on in the wrong areas and making bad decision making. Because if you have if you excel in the basics, we can mold you into being a very, very good player. But if you don't, do those things well, then you're going to struggle. So when we do ID camps or when we go to these tournaments, we're not really worried about what team you play for or what the results are like or anything like that. We're just focusing solely on you and seeing what you can do. And then unfortunately, with for a lot of schools in our position, we don't have a massive coaching staff. So when we're going to these big tournaments, we may only see you be able to play for 15, 20 minutes, and then we have to move on to the next game. So it's a really small window that you have time to impress us. And if you're a forward, the chances of you scoring in that 15 to 20 minutes are very slim. You know what I mean? And if you're a goalkeeper, you might only make one or two saves. So when we're there, the amount of times you have the ball and you have possession, if you do the simple things really well, then that kind of impresses us a little bit more than other things.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense. Well, you mentioned internationals before, and looking at your roster, you got a good bit of them. So how
Mhm.
does the whole international recruiting thing fit in? And the other big thing that's everybody's talking about these days is the transfer portal. So are you
Yeah.
guys dipping your toe into that water at all? How does internationals and transfer portal work for your recruiting?
So yeah, internationals. Obviously, Division two is predominantly international students. In our roster, we're about a 60-40 mix. So I would say that we're probably on the higher end in our conference for American players, and more specifically, the amount of Americans that play. We probably have about 3 to 4 Americans in our starting lineup, and about 3 or 4 that come off the bench, which is unusual. To be honest with you. With internationals, we're trying to get the best ones we can. And really, the main difference is when we're recruiting a player, it's maybe a less of an ego with the international students sometimes with the American kids because of the big club mentality. I would say a lot of these clubs are saying, Division One, Division One, Division One, and then when they don't get a Division One offer, they're looking for very, very high Division Two scholarships. But they might not be a high scholarship level player, where an international student is just happy to be able to get that experience, and they'll come over without any, real bargaining or anything like that, and no chip on their shoulder that they didn't get the Division One offer that they were looking for. So it can be a little bit tad easier going the international route, and at times, to be honest with you, a little bit more mature, both in the classroom as well as on the field. We don't have many older international students. They're mostly all come over as true freshmen at 18 or 19 years old. But they've been away from home. They're proficient in English. So their bedding in period sometimes is not as long as it is with the average American. Um, for transfer portal, I very rarely go into it. I would say that if we do get a transfer, it's more from the junior college level coming in, because from the junior college level, we know what they're going to get into with their academics. We know their coach, where they're playing at, the level they're playing at. With the 4-year transfers, I think you're more sometimes inheriting other people's problems. They might be leaving for, didn't get along with the coach, didn't get along with their team. The grass is always greener somewhere else. So I think your better bets, on that thing is with the junior college route or the true freshman. The only time we really try to look for on the transfer portal might be to get more experience, to try to bring in maybe a junior or a senior, or actually more so on the graduate side where somebody has 1 year to come in and try and make our team a little bit older. So, in the past 2 years with the transfer portal, we've looked at grad students specifically more so than any 4-year transfers.
Okay, well, that makes a lot of sense. Well, let's talk a little bit more about the school itself. And first off, is the question me as a parent always wants to know is, okay, what's this going to cost me, right? So
Sure.
I'm not going to hold you to hard numbers here, but if you could just give me an overview of what the costs are like at the school, what different scholarships are available, do you guys stack? What's a normal student athlete walking
Yeah.
into?
So we're we're lucky being a state university. That all in with your room, board, education, we're about 28,000, which right off the top is about 15,000, less than most private universities in America right now, especially in our area. So that does give us a little bit of a leg up. In terms of athletic money, we're about 5 scholarships out of the 9.1, which is kind of the medium, I would say, in our conference specifically. So on the scholarship range, last year we had 35 guys on our roster, and 13 of those 35 guys got some soccer money, and it ranged anywhere from basically $2,000 to $13,000. So even my top player is still paying out of pocket roughly about $15,000 to go to university. Um, Academic money is very, very difficult, to give out. We're 3.75 minimum with a 1250 SAT score before you even qualify for academic money, and that's about $2,000 up to 7,500. So it is. Hopefully, we get away with the SAT, because that's kind of now the NCAA has gotten rid of it. A lot of the universities are now doing away with it. So I think if we choose to go away from the SAT scores to qualify for academic money, that's going to help us out tremendously, because even if they keep it at a 3.75 GPA, a lot of our students can qualify more so than they do now, which basically is free money to us because we can stack at our university. And I think that really could help us in terms of, the 2 or 3 schools in our league that are fully funded, it can move us a little bit closer to them in terms of our overall aid package.
Okay. Well, you've been there a couple years, if I'm not mistaken, at West Liberty. So besides what I'm going to find on the website, what have you found to be some of the really cool things about the school?
Yeah, so I was at a small private school, Division 3, called Bethany for 10 years before I came to West Liberty. It's literally 3 miles down the street. Um, and I believe we're the second youngest Division 2 program. We've only had varsity soccer here for 5 seasons now. With that, everything is brand new. We have our own soccer specific field with no football or cross lines on it. It's 120 by 80 track, floodlights, grass pitch right beside it. So that is definitely a massive draw. And you can play in your practices by yourself. You don't have to worry about sharing with anybody. And you can tell a student that we're going to practice from 4:30 to 6 or 6 to 7:30. You're never going to have to get up at 6 a.m. or train at 10 o'clock at night or get kicked off by the football team or anything like that. It has its big perks, that's for sure. And then with being such a new program to the school, uh, the expectations are just to get better every year. As of right now, I would say we arguably play in the hardest conference in Division 2 soccer. I think we're one of only 3 other conferences, 5. So it is difficult to kind of get into that top 3, but you're basically telling freshmen that they have the opportunity to play right away because our current seniors started the program. So every year you're trying to get better by bringing in better players. So that opportunity for new players to play right away has been really attractive, from our standpoint, from the school standpoint.
Yeah, no. So with regards to the academic side of things, how do your players really balance the pull between being an athlete, making sure they're doing well in the classroom, and what kind of support systems does the school offer to help them with that?
Yeah, it's support system's great. We have our academic research center that helps out anybody that's struggling. We do our own study halls on campus, especially with the freshmen are mandatory, and any students below a 2.75 has to meet with us twice a week, just so we can keep an eye on them. But being a big-ish university of about 3,000 students, we offer the same class multiple times throughout the week. So if you're missing your Wednesday afternoon classes because we're away, the chances that are offered on Tuesday and Thursday are good. So you really very rarely will miss a class. And then I guess one of the good things that came out of COVID is that we're very technologically savvy with our classes now in terms of um, all of them are recorded. They're on the kids' blackboard, so they can go and review the class was either recorded or they can log in during the live session and still participate when they're on the bus. And our professors are very understanding when students have to miss. We're about 35% student athletes on campus, so it's still a big chunk. But they understand that you're coming here, and when you miss class, you're still representing the university to an extent, so they're willing to work with you. So the overall academic atmosphere on campus is very good, and it's something that we basically take our pride in. For the first time ever this year, we got the United Soccer Coaches Association Team Academic Award. We were one of 2 teams in our conference. So it was something really to, hang our hat on this year. We were very proud of that. And even across the board within our own department, we were the second highest team GPA on the men's side. So academics, even though, Division 2, it's probably a 50-50 balance, it's still first because 99% of the guys that play here will be a professional in something other than soccer. So we still have to make sure that we drive that theory home to them.
No, that's fantastic. Well, in terms of you mentioned a little bit, but riding the bus and schedules, let's kind of rewind to the fall. What is a typical week schedule look like in terms of when classes are, meals, practice times? What's kind of the game cadence in conference and that sort of stuff?
Yes, we try to try to balance the schedule as best we can. So, our schedule is every Wednesday and Sundays are our matches. So we'll train on Monday and Tuesday, play on the Wednesday. Thursdays will be our off day, and then we'll train Friday and Saturday before our Sunday games. We try to tell all the guys to, as best they can, to keep it to the 3 courses on the Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and 2 courses on the Tuesday, Thursday for their 15 credits. Within that kind of time frame, it allows us to do some lifting sessions with our strength and conditioning coach throughout the week where they can go into small groups. We have an indoor turf bubble on campus, so we'll do a lot of our strength and conditioning sessions in there with the cones, the ladders, the hurdles, and the parachutes and everything like that during the day, so that we don't overload them at nighttime, either before practice or after practice with lifting. And then usually twice a week, we'll throw in a few film sessions where the guys will come in and either be individually or small groups, especially working with the back four, whatever it may be, go over last night's game, and we'll preview the team that we're playing. So all in all, you're looking at about roughly 25 hours in the classroom, 20 hours of soccer a week, and then we expect the guys to, about do another further 7 to 10 hours of studying a week. So all in all, you're pretty much dedicated to about 65 hours of your academics and soccer throughout the course of the week.
Yeah. No, that sounds about right. It it definitely takes some getting used to,
Yeah.
but it's all good. Well, let's talk a little bit more about the team. You mentioned you had a roster of 35. Is that kind of your target each year that you're looking to get to?
Yes, yeah, we're lucky in a sense that being a state university, we don't have to have massive rosters. We're not depending on the athletes to survive. So you know, comfortably for me, I like to keep around the 32 to 35 mark. That way we have at least three guys per every position. That way we have a decent depth chart where your first, second, or third choice. So you can clearly see where you are in the pecking order. Um, and then with that, there's always comes injuries and so forth. So I think that you need the ability to be able to train and play your 11-a-side games at night to get ready with shape work and everything like that. So minimum you need 22 guys. So we started off the fall of 35, and with graduation, and we're down to 23 guys for the spring. So you have to also focus on that spring number as well, because if you dip anywhere below 21, 22 guys, then it becomes difficult to do some sort of training sessions, specifically, shadow work and shape work. Um, we've also found that size is also good enough that we can have a few reserve team games. We don't have a JV team or development team or whatever most schools are calling it. We just have a reserve team that if you don't play more than 65 minutes and then a first team match, you're going to play against our with our reserves against the local schools. And we're lucky that we got Bethany, Wheeling University, and Franciscan within about 10 minutes of us. So we'll just do a little home and away with those universities. So we'll play about 6 games in total. And those guys, it's really used for developing the guys that don't play too much, guys that are coming back from either maybe a red card suspension or coming back from injury. So you can have guys that have not featured in the first team, and guys that maybe have played in every first team game but 2 because they pulled a hamstring. And that's kind of where our focus is with that.
Okay. Well, you mentioned, spring and we're in spring. So what does that off-season program look like for you guys?
Yeah, it's definitely different from the fall because the games that you play, results don't matter. So it's more individual training sessions and working on player development than it is trying to win games. Because when you play in the fall, it's Mondays and Wednesdays. You're focused on Wednesdays, or Mondays and Tuesdays. You're focused on Wednesday's opponent. Thursday, you're looking back on Wednesday, but then you turn your attention Friday and Saturday to Sunday. So it's all about winning matches. We're here now. You're working with everybody. In the springtime, all 23 of our guys are going to play. We try to say that at least you're going to play between 45 to 60 minutes, whether you played 0 games in the fall or you played every game and you're our captain. So they're going to get the same amount of opportunities to impress. And we'll change it up. And we'll do different formations and different tactics, and we'll give the guys the opportunity to try a different position. To see a couple guys that say, I'd like to play holding midfield when I played center back in the fall. I think I can give the team a little bit more here. It gives us the opportunity to try that, because we can't do that in the fall. So it's all about basically that player development, as well as kind of focusing on who we think is going to help us for next season, and then who do we think that's still within the squad still needs a little bit of work, and what kind of areas we need to focus on recruiting wise.
Okay. Well, you mentioned staff earlier as well. So what does your staff look like? What role does everybody play? Are there staff that help with a team that, aren't maybe soccer specific, but are athletic department specific? What's that look like?
Yeah. So basically, it's myself and I'm a graduate assistant that we change every 2 years. Every once in a while, we'll get a volunteer assistant. It usually is a player that has graduated and has gotten a full-time job kind of in the area. But then we also have a really good strength and conditioning program here at the university where we have, two full-time strength and conditioning coaches plus three GAs, and they're assigned to the team specifically. So they'll work with the team usually two times in the fall, two times a week, with the lifting and the fitness stuff. And then in the springtime, they'll do it about three times. So that kind of lets us focus solely on the soccer side of things, where they'll take the guys and do those little sessions with them. So all in all, basically with our athletic trainers that we have full time at every game, every practice, every away game, we're operating with a staff of about four.
Okay. Well, you mentioned it a little bit more or a little bit earlier, but asking a little bit more on it. How would you describe your style of coaching, the team style of play, and just that overall culture of the team?
Sure. I'd say it's ever evolving. We're still in a position right now, being such a young program, that we don't have the luxury of being able to pick a system and then recruit based on that system. I'm still looking to bring in the best players I can bring in, regardless of what position they play in. And then we'll look in preseason how we set up based on how can I get my best 11 players on the pitch in their most natural position. And that's what we look for to do, and it could change from year to year. And at the same time, we've got three teams: University of Charleston, Davidson Elkins, and Notre Dame are in top 25, and we just right now can't really compete with them because they're just that much better than us. So we have to adapt our playing style to try to get the best result we can when we play against them. And then we've got another two or three teams in the league that are probably the same level as us, so we can focus on, is it, we're playing away, do we need a draw, do we need a win, we need a clean sheet, let's play this way. And there's probably about two, maybe three teams in our league that we are better than, so we can really kind of focus on, all right, what can we do within ourselves to be more productive, and we don't really have to worry about them too much in terms of their tactics. So it changes day by day. So we try to do two or three shapes during preseason and be proficient with that. And we know guys that will play some games because we play this way, and they won't play the next game because we're playing this way. So it really is kind of a squad scenario that we try to use the best we can.
Okay. Well, you've been super generous with your time, and I do appreciate that. And as we wrap up, I just want to ask you if there was one piece of advice, one nugget of information that you would want to share with potential families or recruits that are going through this process, what would that be?
Sure. I've been lucky enough that my dad was a coach at Mill Jesuit University for 39 years, so I had a lot of wisdom brought down by him. Being through it all, winning championships, losing seasons, and all that fun stuff. So basically the best advice I had from him was just kind of cherish the guys while they're here, and make sure that you establish lasting relationships, with them. He says, he's won many, many, many titles, and the best thing he said to me is that I get more joy out of going to my former players' weddings. They get any emails, but they got a job, and going to christenings for their kids, and their kids coming back for alumni weekend, and basically providing kind of a family atmosphere. And that's kind of what I'm trying to start here at West W with a new program, is hopefully 15 years from now, when I'm still here, that the guys that played for me my first year come back and they've got their kids with them, and they're really appreciative of the kind of the family atmosphere that we installed upon them, to grow them from basically 18-year-old boys into 23-year-old men. And if they do that and they still stay connected with me throughout the years, then I think I've done my job.
Awesome. Well, Coach, wish you the best of luck in the upcoming season and rounding out your recruiting class. And if you do get down to IMG Cup, make sure you give me a shout. Just a few miles away.
Yep.
You know, used to be my event many moons ago, but
Excellent.
and if you, and hopefully ECNL, or yeah, I think maybe ECNL boys might be trying to move their event here to Bradenton. So hopefully,
That'd be
but
awesome.
we'll grab a coffee and catch up then. All right, take care.
I appreciate it.